Oh, we have some big news about Ashes of Creation. Apparently, the entire presentation that was shown to the non-existent board, according to Stephen Sharif, was leaked in its entirety. And I can already tell you, this is going to be a good one.
Hello everyone, in this video I'll
Just
finally
wait and
be able
see.
to share what may have been the Intrepid Studios Board of
I
Shareholders'
haven't watched
plans
any
for
of
Ashes of
this.
Creation had things not imploded the way they had. This is a PowerPoint presentation made specifically for one of the board meetings that had occurred, and is interestingly structured as an investor pitch deck as well. This PowerPoint has been making the rounds quietly for the past month among some content creators like Jalon alluding to its contents, and just this week I received a copy of this and verified the legitimacy of this document with several new insider
Oh,
sources.
good. So it's
The
real.
first slide
Awesome.
reads Ashes of
I'll lower the
Creation,
volume a bit.
Foreclosure, and Business Rightsizing. On the left hand side, we have reasons for the justification of a foreclosure of Intrepid Studios, such as consistent market feedback from investment banking process with a REAM, which was actually mentioned by, I believe, Stephen Sharif in court recently when he was sharing exhibits that included the text messages between him and a board member as well called Teresa Fett. Intrepid has way too much debt, 2 times the optimal operational expenses run rate, 2 times the ideal time to market, etc.
Wasn't it way over 2 times the amount? Weren't Intrepid Studios towards the end were at like 100 million debt? Or am I wrong about that?
No path to profitability, negative equity value with interest accruals from notes, many of which had moved to default
Yes.
status. Every investor had unique terms, many notes were not convertible, had unachievable strike prices, penalties and interest rates that could never be repaid in full, etc. 7.5 million plus dollars in past due OPEX bills, rent, tech, benefits, etc. None have any go forward value to the game. Multiple lawsuits from vendors, etc., with more expected, and this might be definitely referring to the 800,000
Wow.
plus dollar bill for the cloud system
Wow.
services that Intrepid was being sued over.
Isn't that crazy, guys? Won't you believe this? Ashes of Creation actually came out. We just looked at it from the wrong angle. We weren't shown this presentation. This is Ashes of Creation. Everything you just saw happened. That's a bingo, baby. Why we looked at that lame Kickstarter presentation when we could have looked at this. Incredible. So Steven was right. Ashes did exist. We just looked at it the wrong way. Oh man, we are truly at fault here. Steven is the hero. He was right about it all. Crazy.
And that I believe Stephen Sharif had also addressed on the Reddit post. So these are the reasons why the board wanted to foreclose potentially on Intrepid. And we have
I wonder why. Maybe they looked at their bingo card and went like, ding 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 ding, we can foreclose. Oh, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And the way they try to gamify everything with the icons and all of that, clearly they were trying to pitch so hard there. I mean, I gotta applaud to them. It's actually a pretty well made presentation.
here on the right hand side operational expenses reduction. So we're talking about cost cutting from $4 million a month to $2 million a month. Reduce headcount from 210 to 100, offering C shares for prior service instead of giving severance, PTO payout, and so on.
So they already planned firing people just in case. It was like on the back burner in case of something would go wrong, but I think Steven always knew something would go wrong, so he did not care about his employees at all, which doesn't bother me at all. Like I knew this was what this guy was planning. It was so obvious. He doesn't care about anyone but himself and his close relative. And apparently he scammed his relatives. I'm not 100% sure of that, so don't catch me here. It may not be confirmed, but I heard a lot of things about this man, okay? I still need this one confirmed. And on top of that, why in God's name do you have two people and a sword next to a line that says reduce headcount? Who is that weirdo who made that presentation? And why you have a gun next to fire 10 underperformance? What? Like you're fired, brother. Literally. What is that? Who made that?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, but I don't think California, with its strict labor laws, look kindly on something like this. As far as I'm aware, you can't substitute
Nobody cares if you're rich. That's reality. I'm sorry, I had to say it. It's like, it's reality. People do this all the time. Big companies do it all the time. Blizzard did it all the time. Like, nobody really cares. Yeah, Blizzard did even worse. And the only thing that came out of the Activision Blizzard lawsuit was how many millions did they had to pay? I forgot. It was like nothing. It was a slap on the wrist. And Blizzard literally did stuff that I cannot repeat on this channel because I may get banned or demonetized. Like, they did some horrible stuff. Okay? Like, I remember when the entire thing imploded. Oh man, I was sick to my stomach. It was that disgusting. Like, the stories that came out of it, wow. I did not believe that actually went inside of Blizzard HQ. I literally did not believe that.
C shares for actual compensation or the last due paycheck. We know from prior information that we've covered from the California Warden Act filings on this channel, about 90 or so workers were not based in California, so the legalities may be different depending on their state that they were working from, although the federal Warden Act would probably still apply. This part definitely raises some eyebrows, but without the full context or transcript of what was discussed in the meeting that this PowerPoint was used for, I'm curious if they had talked about the legalities and other options in terms of rightfully compensating the employees. The next point is fire 10 underperformers by January 15, 2026. I'm not sure how you would measure underperformance or anything like that.
You fire 10 random people and claim they're underperforming. It's simple. I've seen so many companies do that. It's literally just that.
In the environment that
Yeah, you keep the people that shines above everyone else that do the extra work, and you just fire 10 random people. That's how it usually works.
a lot of the employees told me about.
It's unfortunate, but it's
So
true.
that's interesting. And they wanted to lay off an additional 100 people by February 15th. And this sort of lines with former employees' interviews with me. This definitely aligns with some of what Margaret Crone, the former Intrepid Studios community manager, had mentioned in one of her social media posts about how on January 28th, they were notified that, hey, we might lay off 100 or so people, and then the next day they were notified that everybody is getting laid off without much notice. And in terms of cost cutting, this has been floated as an idea by quite a lot of people. Why not offshore some of the jobs or positions, or why not just make it fully remote? And it looks like the board had something similar in mind. Move from the San Diego office building or office location, which is probably an additional expense that they don't need, to virtual working environment. Attempt to negotiate.
And by saying that, like move from San Diego office to virtual working environment, I think they mean outsourcing some of the stuff to a cheaper country. I think that's what they mean. I might be wrong about that.
A buy down on Commerce Bank and SBA loans, a big point of contention right now in the lawsuits. Reduce tech licenses, etc., such as things for like Adobe and things like that. Move to standard benefit program for pre-cash flow business, health insurance copay, etc. Renegotiate the contract with Amazon Web Services, and this is alluding to the Intrepid Studios utilization of AWS for running the game on AWS servers. At the bottom of each slide, by the way, is you may not be able to see it on your screen, but I'll read it. Confidential for discussion purposes only. Forward-looking statements subject to risks and uncertainties. Actual results may differ. No offer or solicitation. No representation or warranty, express or implied, as to accuracy or completeness. No reliance. Recipients must conduct their own diligence. No duty to update. Content authors and contributors disclaim liability to the fullest extent permitted by law. The next three slides are quarterly roadmaps, and this one is going to be quarter one. Focus on first-time user experience while
Okay,
also
now we're back to the Delulu part. Okay, awesome.
deepening the engagement with player progression. In terms of acquisition features and content, first-time user experience should be polished, and there should be updates to bottlenecks. There should be an update to the character creator experience. There should be an update to the chat experience. There should be an update to player movement, camera, and controls. Pretty general, vague stuff here. In terms of engaging the player base, player class fantasy, multi-class is mentioned, raising the level cap to 30, adding more enable
I literally forgot that was supposed to be a thing. Like the multi-classing. I literally forgot about that.
units and gameplay, marketplace updates in terms of retaining the consumer base. We also have additional PvE content, which includes adding more points of interest, commissions, events, and destiny. additional PvP content, caravans, crates, rules update and balances, base PvP updates, and which includes bounty hunting. Key beats for the quarter include character progression cap raised to 30, wipe and fresh start, and making it a marketable release, netting hopefully, and these are just projections, 60,000 plus units sold through for the first quarter. The second quarter has, similar things. They do have different acquisition features and content, such as adding the Tonar race, world boss variants, raises level cap to 50 from 30, settlement depth, castles, and gliding mounts. In terms of retaining the consumers, add free holds, player housing, personal instances, guild halls, and even more POIs, and so on.
Yeah, well, looking at this, I realize how much this was a lie. It was just such a ginormous lie. They weren't even close to a single thing that is mentioned here. Like, literally not a single step closer. It's so cringe. It's like their entire time at Intrepid Studios were wasted at making presentations. That's all. They're really strong with presentation, I'll give them that. That looks impressive. If I was a shareholder, I would have looked at that and I went like, okay, sure, that seems realistic. Why not? But if I looked at a game state, I would have instantly realized I was being swindled. 100%.
And again,
Yeah, the thing is, the investors did not care. They just trusted Steven, which was the worst mistake ever, and now they realize that. But yeah, I mean, if they knew anything about video games, which clearly they're not, we've seen them, yeah, they would have realized way before that none of this is possible with the way Steven is handling the project.
we were looking forward to potentially getting about
Yeah, they just
60,000
gave him
plus
money.
units again in the second quarter. In regards to the third quarter roadmap, we do have a bit more of a fleshing out here in terms of the features and content. We have AI voiceover, which we had already seen in Alpha 2, PvP arenas, auction house, final naval units, and gameplay updates. The level cap is, of course, again raised to 50. Final PvP content and systems, additional PvE content. And this is probably the most surprising part on the right hand side under key beats for the quarter. They wanted a marketable product and release, netting about 120,000 plus units sold through for the third quarter alone. And they wanted a beta launch of Ashes of Creation and
I don't think it's too far from reality. I gotta be honest. I do really think that 120k people, I mean, assuming I'm reading this correctly, would have purchased the game. I literally think that. Yeah, that's completely realistic. Ashes of Creation had insane hype and everyone talked about it. If the game was actually good, as Steven tried to convince other people that it would have been, wow, this game would have made way more people playing than that, right? It would have made a lot of money. 100%. The problem wasn't that. It wasn't the prediction. It was the fact they did nothing to get even close to it. That was the problem.
August. And then a month right after that, in September 2026, they wanted to perhaps
Wait, beta in August and they used Bitcoin as an emote here? What?
see a full 1.0 version launch in September.
Beta is for Bitcoin.
And for anyone who
What?
played Ashes of Creation Alpha 2, this seems really optimistic. This kind of indicates to me perhaps that people on the board just weren't very familiar with game development or even like
Yeah, there we go.
the progression
Yep.
of Ashes of Creation. Perhaps the information that they have been given was a bit too out there. Name reservation, guild name reservation, 500 plus hours of gameplay guaranteed somehow. $20 in terms of the sub activation fee. So you would have to pay.
And by the way, most investors are like that. Most investors, their job is literally to invest. They don't know anything about the crap they're investing their money into. All they know is reading graphs, and that's it. Now, in the particular case of Intrepid Studios and Ashes of Creation, it was different because Steven did turn to people he already knows, so they had that trust, right? That built trust with Steven, which obviously collapsed immediately after. But yeah, that's why he managed to snag some big fishes that did not know anything about this game. But generally speaking, people who invest don't make these type of mistakes. They do look at graphs. They do look at, okay, what is this right now and if it can go up? But in Steven case, they started fresh. They had nothing. They did look at a Kickstarter, I guess, and they see it as an indicator. But they had no idea that an MMO RPG literally needs hundreds of millions almost to just make it out there. Like the 6 million they got on Kickstarter, I think it was 6, it may be even more than that, or even less, I'm not that sure, but let's just say the 6 million they got on Kickstarter was a fraction of what you need to build an actual thriving, successful MMO. But the investors did not know that. So, yeah, they got completely scammed. And obviously, if they knew anything about what they were investing into, they wouldn't be doing that.
$20 a month to play Ashes of Creation. Interestingly, the $20 sub fee per month was also raised from the previously public claim of it being only $15 a month in the future. But there wasn't just a roadmap.
I'm not gonna blame them for that. $20 for a sub per month, it's fine if the game is actually worth it. In my opinion, it just really depends on the game.
For 2026, there's also a roadmap for Ashes of Creation in 2027 next year, which goes to show that they were trying to make this a product that was long-term and gave them a return on investment. Keep stickiness and adds 500 plus more hours of additional gameplay. Keep an estimated $8 million a month flowing in from a projected amount of 400,000 plus core players. Pretty ambitious numbers here.
Yeah.
Under acquisition.
Yeah, 400 concurrent. I mean, I agree with 120k people on launch, like third quarter, when you have like a big launch day. 100% I agree with that. 400 concurrent players. I think that's... No, that's a lot. 400k concurrent players. That's a lot for an MMORPG that is subscription based, especially for $20. That is insane amount of people. I don't know if they would be able to pull this off.
Category on the left-hand side, we have additional environmental kits, race kits, unique settlements, narrative content, pivot to sandbox systems, a standalone mode, or offline FTUE, or offline first-time user experience. So this is somewhat akin. So I believe Star Citizen will have a standalone single-player version of, I guess, Star Citizen, but then there will be an MMO slash multiplayer experience for Star Citizen. So that was kind of their strategy, I guess, here, with unique world bosses being the last item here. Under engagement, we have dynamic world, 90% cut, siege vehicles, animal husbandry, vehicle progression, stock exchange, parlor games, dual-wielding one-handed weapons, Underrealm, public dungeons, additional service buildings, guild fortress, guild castle. A lot of these things, talked often about on the development update streams by Stephen Sharif as well.
Yeah,
so,
I remember
including animal
that.
husbandry and parlor games. We have under the retention category, social organization, the majority of the dynamic world features, raid content outside of events or world bosses, family system, also mentioned previously, religion system, which I had also covered, I think, years ago on this channel. And at this point, this is the part where...
Yeah, it was so ambitious. I remember Steven mentioning you're gonna have, like, religious nodes, where you have, like, religious metropolis, how do you say that? Yeah, it was insane. It was way too ambitious, man. Now that I think about it, I can't believe I actually, like, bit into it when I was younger. It was crazy, man. Like, I truly was a kid back then.
It sort of turns into
the naivety
investors pitch deck. Talks about Ashes of Creation's 2026 working KPIs, or key performance indicators. In this slide, they're claiming, hey, pre-early access, we have 300,000 people on Steam wishlisting it.
Wishlist means literally nothing. Never count on that as an indicator. We've seen that with the cringe night game with the two chicks. 1348x Voltor, right? It had so many wish lists, and at the end, I think peak concurrent players was like 400, and maybe all of these people just came in to meme on them, and that's pretty much it.
We somehow had 150,000 people buy into it, or are expected to perhaps become future subscribers. During early access, they saw 100,000 conversions, 150,000 additions to the wish list, and currently this is the number that they're at. We also do see, again, a mention of a September 2026 launch.
What?
Where they'll initiate the launch with a $20 membership fee per month. It says.
Hell no. They weren't even close to a launch anytime soon. Even if you gave Steven another 100 milli, he wouldn't have made it to September 2026 with a functional product. Not close to even the first quarter he mentioned. Not even that in terms of content. Yeah, but it is what it is. Again, it was so mismanaged. Like nobody could have predicted that. If I was an investor, like, damn, that's insane. And by no one able to predict that, I mean from the information that we had until the alpha access. I think once I saw the alpha access, I realized it was a scam. Like I truly internalized it, should I say.
$15, 400,000 plus subs expected. Sub revenue post September launch, $5 million a month. These working key performance indicators derive from sales trends since early access launched on Steam December 11, 2025. This was the Alpha 2 rollout to Steam as early access version of Ashes of Creation, which is, in itself it was a very controversial decision seen by as seen by many in the community and other people. So I think the amount of data in the time frame between whenever this PowerPoint was presented, sometime between mid-December to early January, perhaps, and the very little amount of data in that short of a time frame leading to these conclusions, I feel like there's a lot of optimism here, for sure. And on the next slide, we have
It's not optimism, brother. It's deception.
investor decision. I think this is more aimed towards those who are currently invested into the Intrepid Studios and Ashes Creation projects. And this is specifically meant for the people who are still, I believe, on the board. So capital call decision, yes, if you vote yes, or you want to be a yes, be carried forward on the new cap table, receive pro rata share of equity for initial investment plus this incremental call. No, prior investment will remain in the foreclosed entity, leaving it worthless. If wildly successful, attempt to repay principal, no interest, even if no capital call. Why are we doing this capital call? Because we need at least another $12 million to fund Ashes through September launch in 2026.
Of
And
course.
I feel like this is a very conservative number. But if they were
No, I need it. I need it. My private chef is going to make me some caviar, and he really needs the funds.
very intent on cutting, cost by so much to the point that they thought,
No, sorry, he wasn't a private chef. He was a culinary expert at Intrepid Studios. My bad.
$12 million would be enough to fund Ashes of Creation from January 2026 to September 2026. Maybe, but I feel like this is a very conservative estimate. They're estimating that they would have a $2 million a month burn rate, which would somehow be offset by box sales along the way. And those box sales are referring to the projections for the first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter, where it would be about, 240,000 sales, because they wanted 120,000 sales in quarter three. They wanted 60,000 sales in quarter two.
And he's actually right. I think those early alpha keys were sold for $200 to kind of use as indicators to how many people are not only going to play the game, but how many people are going to spend copious amounts of money on it before it even released. Just to kind of show people, hey, we snagged some really big fishes. We have some whales. Like, you want to invest into this project because once we go live, we're gonna make it big time. I think that was like the entire idea behind it.
Another 60,000 sales in quarter one. So again, I don't know about these numbers. These numbers seem pretty off. Seems optimistic or naive. What do I get if I make the 25% capital call as an investor? Goal is to 2 times total investment upon sale, or 10 times incremental investment. Goal is to make distributions to return total investment by mid 2029. So this would still, again, this indicates to me that the board definitely wanted a working product. They definitely wanted something that could give their money back, hopefully. And the long term, this is not even long term, this is like short
That's the point of the investment. You do want to see that money back returning to you.
term, right? If you have a launch in 2026, that's another 3 to 4 years until you may see an ROI. But at the same time, typically with how the gaming industry is right now, and with how MMO development is right now, or just really game development in general right now, in terms of cost and expenses, I mean, this is what I say in a lot of videos now, that MMOs are basically like the nuclear plants of the gaming industry.
Yeah.
It takes
sink
a
or
long
swim.
time and a lot of money, a lot of capital to first build it, and then you got to maintain it for like
Absolutely.
another 5 to 10 years to
And that's why we would probably never see a good MMO until Riot Games maybe make it. Because MMOs are such a huge risk. It's literally just burn your money in the hopes of maybe one day you'll see it back. Like maybe. And it's crazy. It truly takes a delusional freak of nature to invest their money into it. And the only reason Blizzard did it back in the day is because they already had a really popular IP to go on. So their chances to succeed were pretty big considering like other competitions that start from scratch. And I mean, to be honest, they just learned from the best. They knew what they were doing. Even though there were a bunch of, clueless developers that were just a bunch of EverQuest players, it was more than enough to make a game because they were actual gamers. Nowadays, that's not really the case. You don't really hire the right people to work on your projects. Obviously, if Steven took all of that money he gained from investors and gave it to the right person, I think we had the best MMO we had until this day. Okay, I literally believe that if Steven wasn't such a man-child and he gave all of that money to a functional human being that knows something about MMOs, man, Ashes of Creation would have been big by now. Like, huge. But no, he refused. He took all of that money for himself and his husband. He did all of those shady stuff. He kept taking more and more money, diverting the projects, turning it into Ashes of Creation Apocalypse because he wanted to cash in on the Battle Royale craze. That fumbled in its entirety, and obviously he pivoted so many times, wasted so much money, and ended up just crumbling under the pressure.
see even a return on the energy and, of course, the money. So it's like, I feel like even this ROI by mid 2029 is very optimistic. Where did these numbers come from? Cap table will be split pro rata based on $150 million paid in capital. September launch and monetization, cash flowing in to support $300 million plus exit in 2027, $1.2 million initial into a $300,000 call into a $1.5 million, or about 1.1% of cap table, $300 million exit return, and $3 million in 1% equity. Market to sell Ashes is not good. Will hold game and distribute free cash flows. They were expecting revenues of $8 million a month in 2027 at 400,000 subscriptions at $20 a month. Plus $3 million a month, perhaps in box and swag or merchandise or in-game sales through the cash store. They were also expecting a burn rate of $3 million a month at that point too. Goal is to distribute the $150 million in cap table pro rata by mid 2029. Additional ask: everyone making capital call, be prepared to help the board in your unique way as we move forward and share progress, risks, stocks, etc. We need all of us to contribute to success. This is a very talented, connected group who together can improve our chance of success. Ashes of Creation key risks. Here we have roadmap, missed deadlines, mitigation, track progress, daily, weekly, monthly, adjusting resource allocations in real time. Sort of implying that it's not being done at this point, which would be a little weird. And also on the next one, financial cash burn.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I remember Steven saying clearly that there weren't no deadlines. I remember that. Like, he said, "Oh, I'm funding everything. It's going to be ready when it's ready." So it's funny just seeing all of this in retrospect.
The mitigation solution would be track the spending trends daily, weekly, monthly, adjusting spend commitments in real time. Also, kind of implying this is not happening at the same time, or the budgeting is kind of whack or out of order. Players cannot hit player numbers. I'm assuming that's what it's supposed to say. Cannot hit player numbers or pricing targets. Mitigation: monitor sales trends, player sentiment, reviews, and adjust scope and roadmap proactively. Market gaming space investor sentiment turns even more negative. Mitigation would be pivoting strategy from monetizing the game through a sale to distributing free cash flow to investors. Talent wise, we lose key contributors. Steven's health takes a negative turn. Mitigation:
so he was
key
ready.
talent B class shares to employees so that they feel a sense of ownership. Identify talent succession plans. It's interesting that they mentioned Steven's health here, which he's brought up.
No, it's not interesting. He tried to literally cop out. Like, he tried to make an escape plan. He planned this. He knew.
Previous filing, right? Through the court.
Yeah, the famous cough that came out of absolutely
Jason
nowhere.
as well, that he did have health issues. at the time as well, pre-existing health issues at the time, and that he always had issues.
Well, he can cough in jail.
So I think probably with the added stress, maybe if we're being generous here, that his health was a consideration for potential investors or the current board members, because in an objective sense, he is the one who is the public face of the product. He is the one that's the public face of the company. So, I mean, if you have him knocked out because of bad health or anything like that, then that could be bad news, right? In terms of the risk factor. And whoever made this was obviously worried that, hey, maybe after layoffs, people might not want to stay either, and they wanted to offer developers or specific people, perhaps, B-class shares so that they continue to feel like they're still, I guess, involved or have a sense of ownership. And then there's a TBD. I mean, there's a
Sense of ownership. Like, get out of here, you weirdo. Oh my god, this is like peak capitalism, man. And not that I'm against it or something, but it's so funny to see how much these people care about the little guy. It's just so offensive, man. Like, oh, let's give them a sense of ownership because they don't own anything and they don't deserve to.
to be determined.
It's
You
disgusting,
don't want to
man.
see this
I
in
hate that.
investor pitch deck. You really want to be specific. So I'm kind of just laughing at this because I have some experience with this. So to be determined, key risk mitigation would be identify future risks proactively and address through mitigation plans. I think the biggest takeaway here is that a lot of this stuff does align with what we've learned in the text messages leaked from the early Ashes creation investor Jason Karamanis, along with the employees who had told me that payroll was inconsistent at times or that they never got their bonuses. Just from this document, it's very obvious Intrepid Studios was an insolvent company. It had unsustainable debt and incredibly high operational costs to the point that someone out there considered mass layoffs, but also perhaps not giving severance or a payout on pay time off to former employees. As one journalist put it very recently, Ashes of Creation was spending Guild Wars 2 levels of money without the Guild Wars 2 revenue. Another big takeaway is the fact that there was obvious.
Damn, Guild Wars 2 spends that much money? I guess it makes sense. The game does have a lot of events and all of that stuff. And you do have to constantly make expansions, right? They do pump up these expansions, and they're good, as far as I've heard. I mean, I'm going to play eventually through them myself, but yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense.
Obviously an intention to not only restructure the company but also make Ashes of Creation a reality, which may be the more tragic part to a lot of people still out there coping that it's going to make a relatively quick return somehow as things get even more mired in lawsuits. It's also obvious that these investors or lenders also wanted a return on their investment, and they were even willing to raise another $12 million in a 25% capital call.
Yeah, because it's like pocket change to them. They don't care. Like, brother, we're not even on the same playing field. I cry when I lose like a $5. I literally cry, okay, because I'm poor as hell. But they don't care. Like 12 million, it's nothing to them. It's literally nothing.
And I think really just based on whatever information the person who made this PowerPoint had or was given, things definitely have that tone of optimism or naivety in terms of a realistic timeline for MMO development. I don't think
Of course, because it was all made to obfuscate the truth. It was a smokescreen. Everyone with a semi-functioning frontal lobe who knows anything about development would have seen through that lie. But the investors didn't know. So, of course.
anyone involved here
They
seems
use
to
that.
have any experience with game, much less MMO development. I think the main focal points here are the concerns over the company's insolvency, the loans owed to Commerce Bank and other entities that we now know of. It's very financial, and I think a lot of people's expectations or hopes or dreams for the next big MMO or World of Warcraft killer would have been dashed because a September 2026 launch is again insane. And obviously there would have to
Unrealistic.
be a removal or addition of a lot of things or systems to make the game as a product itself profitable enough for people on the board who had invested, as we're finding out, almost $200 million to get their money back. As always,
Again, I think they could have made it. I literally think they could have made it if someone other than Steven would have worked on this project. Guys, you don't understand the amount of fanatics Ashes of Creation garnered. You don't realize they would be willing to pay for anything that slightly resembles a good MMO experience. Like, I would have subbed for Ashes for $20 if it was good enough. If it would be as good as Classic World of Warcraft, I would have instantly subbed. And so many people are same as me. 100%. They could have reached that margin. I believe that wholeheartedly. It's just a matter of having zero product. That was the issue. Literally.
Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments
That's
below.
all.
I will upload this PowerPoint to our Discord server and also provide a Google Drive link in the description below. I did want to mention a few other things, but I'll probably say that for another video. But just as a transparent clarification, I'm hoping to share even more documents and information in the near future.
Yes.
And also cover
I need
other
more
people's
content.
stories about many other things, including the Twitch Women's Guild. I did reach out to Steven Sharif in the more private communication channel and never got a reply for any
I wonder why.
format of interview. So as I've said publicly, that will be my last attempt. So you guys should not expect anything from my end on that front unless something changes.
Well, he'll have to answer the police one day, or maybe a court, so we'll watch that. But yeah, I mean, I guess that was a great video. I love that. It just shows how much obfuscation and lies went throughout the entire ordeal, and we didn't know about any of it. It's just so crazy to see that in front of your eyes. But at the end of the day, I guess it is what it is, man. Once a scammer, always a scammer.